Is a massive crypto crash and stock market crash imminent? Right now, alarm bells are ringing, and I'm going to give you my opinion on what I think could happen in the next few weeks. We're going to go through a lot of charts, including stock market, main tech stocks, main cryptocurrencies, major meme coins, to try and piece together exactly what could happen. Let's start first with sentiment. So what have we seen in the last few weeks? We've seen a lot of news that should have been very bullish for things like Bitcoin. So talk about the strategic reserve, him mentioning some altcoins as well, apparently Trump buying loads and loads of Ethereum, all of this stuff supposed to be very, very bullish. Even now when you open Twitter, you see stuff like this. Random altcoins, SUI, mentioning some major news and the price after this news actually dipping and going further down. So what we're seeing is lots and lots of news that should be perceived as bullish, price keeps going down. This usually happens in bearish conditions, not bullish conditions. Bullish conditions is obviously the opposite. So as we go through these charts, just think about that. And everything you need to know is usually on a chart, which you'll see in this video. A lot of it's actually quite clear. It's not even open to interpretation. And Bitcoin, funnily enough, is going to be one of the last charts we talk about because it's one of the most uncertain in terms of where we are right now. A lot of the other ones are kind of giving me a lot more in terms of clarity. So let's talk about those. Now, we're going to talk about the stock market first of all. Now, if you're new to analyzing or understanding the stock market, the main two that you need to look at are the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, first and foremost, especially actually for cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency tends to do very well when tech stocks are doing well. And the reason I'm talking about stock market is because if the stock market were to crash, there is no way or no planet where crypto would survive all of that, even though people have said for years crypto's going to, go in a separate direction. Not going to happen. Just doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And proof of that, the last time we saw something major was actually the COVID crash. And when we had the COVID crash, we saw everything going down, including Bitcoin, significantly. Now, obviously, after that crash, it was a major buying opportunity, but more on that a little bit later in the video. I think from that COVID low, we've traced quite a reasonably straightforward impulse wave up. And I think we're at the ending stages of that. And even in this final push from September 22 on the S&P 500 all the way up till now, I think we've traced out a final rally up. Reason this is important is because it means we're due a correction and it could be a significant one. But the reason it's even more important, those of you who really like TA, is if you zoom out a lot. So if you go onto a weekly chart, there is an argument now that we're actually ending something more significant. We're actually ending a rally that began after the global financial crisis back in 08, 2009, where we actually bottomed. So literally the rally all the way from there, where very likely this was a 3 back in 2018, and then this was the final move up. That's really significant because all markets have to correct at some point. And if that happens, then we could go down a lot on the stock market. And the thing about the stock market is, as we saw during the COVID crash, when things go down, don't really get a lot of pullbacks along the way. Now, what I'm saying today, so if we go on a short-term time frame, I'm on a daily chart here. It's going to sound kind of ridiculous now because betting against the stock market, not usually wise last few years, like ever since COVID. Maximum drawdowns, always, barely 10%. And right now, we're not even got to 10% yet. So yeah, maybe we'll go down a bit more and then just keep rallying. That could happen. If that happens, very, very good for crypto. I don't see any way that stock market goes up significantly and crypto doesn't get carried up, especially big tech stocks. However, like I said, there are more signs here you need to worry about. And another one is looking at the momentum on the way up. Notice that since October kind of 2023, on the push-ups, on the higher highs, the momentum, if you look at the RSI, look at the MACD, is going the opposite direction. That's called divergence. That is usually a sign that we're due something larger in terms of a pullback, or obviously maybe more. So that's another sign we're seeing in the stock market. Apart from the fact that I think this rounded top which is very typical for when when the stock market's due a big correction. If you see here, back in 2021, it was a rounded top there as well. And if you have a look here, even before the COVID crash, it's kind of the same thing. We're kind of eking up higher highs, higher low, very, very weak moves to the upside. So how do you know in any asset class like stock market, how do you know if there's something significant going on? You look at the previous pivot levels, and this is where you get break of structure. The most important one on the very short-term time frame was this one, this low we saw on 13th of Jan, which has already been broken, which in my opinion is significant. The next one, let's say we just got a larger correction, no big deal, next few weeks it's all bearish and stuff like that, but then we bottom, we turn, and then we move back up. It's this low here, the August low, which ironically on a lot of cryptocurrencies, on altcoins, I'll show you in just a minute, we're around those August lows. We look like we're about to break below, actually. But if this low goes, very, very significant for the stock market. The Nasdaq is no different. Same kind of structure, and I still feel that we could have topped here. And same thing here. If you look at big tech stocks, main ones, Nvidia, we can have a look at Tesla, Amazon, Meta, stuff like that. So Nvidia, still above that July, August low. So we're still not broken major higher time frame structure. But I feel like this could be a leading diagonal and the beginning of something. This could be a leading impulse. But let's see. Let's see how it goes. Tesla is a more, dare I say, obvious one. But what we saw actually with a lot of cryptocurrencies, not dissimilar from Tesla. So it had its massive momentum actually in November, back in 2021. 2021, a lot of you have been in crypto like myself for a much longer time, like 4, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years. You would probably agree 2021 seemed to be the year where we had way more momentum. That was the big one. And this year seems like we've really had to push a boulder up a mountain to get to all-time highs in any coin. And that's how it's actually been for a few tech stocks. And I think from here, we likely traced out a triangle. And this final impulse from August to December, just to tag all-time highs to complete the move, was a 5. This was the big 3 where we get the most momentum. And this was a smaller 5 to call it a day. And the way we're coming off impulsively, not a good sign. But again, is this support area here. If this goes on a lot of big tech stocks, that's you have to say that's really bearish. This is Meta, so Facebook. Now we've just broken this upsloping trend line, no big deal. And there's a lower trend line there as well. But again, and this actually topped much later in 24th. But we don't know yet. We don't know. Until structures get broken, important pivot points get taken out, we don't know for sure. But I'm just sounding the alarm very early that there's a lot of bad signs here. And also, one thing that we saw in 2021 was the crypto market was actually an early indicator that things were, we're struggling. And it actually came in before stocks and the indices. And this time within crypto, you've actually got some stuff which I think tops earlier. I think memes, ironically, are the first to sound the alarm. Then it's alts, and then actually Bitcoin, or Bitcoin alts kind of at the same time. Now let's talk about some of the cryptocurrencies. Quick word on traditional ones. This is AVAX. And on this one, we're on a weekly chart here, so we can really zoom out. You see we're nowhere near all-time highs. So when I said in my last video, I think we're going to go into a 10-year bear market with cryptocurrencies, I mean most coins that already saw previous all-time highs. Technically, AVAX has been in a bear market since November. And the last few years haven't changed that. None of this is bullish, obviously. We're nowhere near all-time highs. This is just retraces in an already ongoing bear market for AVAX. End of story. And the chart tells you that. And I always felt that this move from August on a lot of altcoins looked corrective going up. It's been proven now because we're literally sitting at that level. Now we're sitting here, that's fine. But the point of this video is, if you're sitting at really, really key levels across the board on all, stock market, crypto, everywhere, what happens if this breaks? You should expect on a major level that you should expect a bounce. So I'm hoping of some sort of retrace in the very, very short term. Some retrace. Maybe where we get some shorts being ran. We get a bit of a short squeeze, stuff like that. But what did I say before? In the stock market, when it's kind of plunging, any asset, even if you look at a meme coin, for example, when it's plunging, the pullbacks are very shallow. Like you usually get a little 38% retracement back up, sometimes a lot less, and we just plunge again. And like I said, I think crypto is an early sign. A lot of the alts look extremely weak. With Solana, all of this mention of strategic reserve, you saw it all got absolutely faded, as I was saying on Twitter. And that's exactly what's happened. And we're now dangling there. And this is a head and shoulders pattern, which can be a continuation pattern. Very bearish. Now, what I'm hoping, again, just my trader hat on, is if you're day trading these altcoins, which, you know, given the volatility right now, is not a bad play, actually, taking short-term trades. What you would hope for here is this gets broken and we get an immediate short squeeze where most people get short late, and we get immediate reversal and we have a tiny little bit of a rally. But really, you have to understand that you are betting against the prevailing trend. Now, the trend's not been in place long, coming up to 2 months now, but it is a downtrend. And you would argue that the momentum in Solana and a lot of other altcoins has been gone since kind of like maybe even March, April last year. And we really struggled to push our way to spike to all-time highs. This little move from 14th June where we were nowhere at 166, and then we tagged 300 in like days, like 5 days, and then suddenly crashed. Not a good sign like that we're able to maintain any kind of momentum. When you look at kind of more major meme coins, let's have a look at Pepe, for example. Again, zooming out, this is a 2-day chart. Now, originally when Pepe was created, it had its first big wave, first move. Crazy, you know, amazing. Everybody was shocked by it, stuff like that. A lot of people got in late. I actually got in quite late there and got caught out personally. But anyway, that was all the way back in 2023. Massive pullback, consolidation. We clearly looked like we had a 3-wave move. That was the most kind of bullish part of it in terms of multiples. And then what did we do from September? We had this final flourish of a 5-wave move here. If you look at momentum, again, you know, is a bit trickier on meme coins. But basically, we've got divergence from 3 and 5. Not a lot, but we have some divergence. But it doesn't matter if we did or we didn't, because the price action afterwards tells us everything we need to know. Follow the price action. It tells you everything you need to know. Look, it's just literally straight red candles all the way down. And now we're back at this major wave 4 support level. And it's not looking great. It's not looking great at all. And that's why I'm saying we're at this key level where there's been a lot of volume traded, where you would expect some slowing down of this crypto sell-off and some sort of bounce. And the fact that we're looking so weak at an area where we should easily bounce is not good. And if we break these key levels on all of these, I mean, remember Pepe and some of the other larger meme coins, they're quite large in terms of market cap. If they break through these levels, it could get a little bit silly in terms of selling, which again, I know sounds crazy given we've literally just been down only on all. A lot of these are already down a lot. Like this is down 75%, but I think it can potentially go down a lot more. And same goes for all of these, like Doge as well. It's retraced, faded a lot of the move from October. But again, if you zoom out, never managed to get to all-time highs. Very likely this was a 3-wave just corrective rally, like I showed you with AVAX. So what happens is when a coin tops, like a major coin like this, forever, because I personally think that was the forever top for Dogecoin, the chart over the next 10 years is basically crashing, go up a bit, crashing, go up a bit, crashing, but basically that. And it amazes me actually, not Dogecoin per se, but any altcoin, a lot of them, like some of these that I'm going to show you now, let's say, where's DOT? Like some of these are chains that nobody uses, nobody cares about, nobody talks about. Why are they, like I don't even understand why they're not at zero already. Makes no sense to me. So some of them are hanging around, but look, the chart tells you everything you need to know. Like the heyday for this coin was, again, 2021. This time, this cycle, quote unquote, for all, a lot of the altcoins was non-existent. Just sideways. I made this video a long time ago now. Nobody ever watched it, and it was talking about stuff like, you know, all of these altcoins. You can see all of the symbols there, things like Sandbox and Polkadot and stuff like that. And I literally said a lot of them will do a 0.5x or a 1x for the entire cycle. And I was ranking the worst coins. And I went through all of these coins then. And it turns out that they have all literally done nothing. They've just gone sideways. This is literally at the lows where the price was in October 24, which is where the price was in October 23. It's literally at the lows. But again, like I said, this is a major support level historically for these coins. Now, when you throw a ball on the floor, it's just an analogy, it bounces up that high. Then it falls down again on its own, and then it bounces that high, and then that high, and then that high. That's how a lot of coins are acting. In fact, any asset will be like that at a support level. It's slowly knocking on the door. Somehow, like I can't even believe it actually got anywhere up here. It should have been a much smaller bounce. But eventually it's not going to bounce. And yeah, these are going to start trending to zero. The vast majority of these altcoins and meme coins, obviously. And because we're teetering on these important levels, I think everything could accelerate. Like I said earlier in the video, there's no way if we get a stock market plunge, which I think is imminent personally. So like I said, we could have a little relief rally, which is due anyway. We go up for a few days. It's very oversold conditions, that's normal. But then after that, I think it's imminent. I think it could be a wave 3 as well. So it could be a very, very strong push down. Now, by the way, something on news. The market will tank first and they'll add news to it. And it might be some world news. Again, I don't want to talk about, bad things in the world and stuff like that, but loads of stuff. Like what have we been through in the last few years? What we were going through in 2020, 2021, who knows? But they'll add that, they'll say that was the cause of everything. But we really know, if you look at the charts, it's long, long overdue. The big years, the really momentum year was 2021. And actually the really good years of the market, if you're old enough, were, we're talking 15, 20 years ago. People say the 90s was the best, internet bubble, stuff like that, whatever. But right now, these are the latter stages, I think. And if you think about in real life, if you talk about macro and stuff like that, there is a big reason why all of this is going to happen anyway. You know the reason for that already. A lot of you will know or feel it. It is obviously AI. It's actually going to make everything a lot cheaper, which is not good for companies that sell you products that should cost you loads of money in subscriptions. I made this post on, January 23rd with my predictions from the year. I was just, talking out loud. And I said then, it's going to be a multi-decade top for a lot of the big tech companies, like, the Amazons, Tesla, Nvidia, stuff like that. Because AI is going to create a lot of value for sure, but it's going to make everything really, really cheap. And, with AI agents, meme coins, it was the usual bubble, which I mentioned here. So NFTs are never really going to do a pump. Well, I mean, that's obvious. And I thought we'll have one final very weak crypto pump at best. That's kind of what we've seen with Solana and stuff like that, where some alts ran and then they're going to pale into insignificance. A lot of coping on the timeline, people still waiting for alt season. Yeah, that's been happening and will continue to happen. I mean, soon it will be a joke, I think. But then I talked about this longer bear market. I think we're going to retrace a lot of the moves from 2010, for Bitcoin and stuff like that. Who knows? Let's see how it goes. I don't know. I'm commenting on what I see on the charts personally. And a quick word on meme coins for this cycle. Ones that did well earlier in the cycle. This is WIF. A lot of you will know about this meme coin. This is Dog WIF Hat. What has it been doing since this high in November? It's taken out very, very important support levels. This is all corrective, but it took out this level in July. Very significant. Just on a straight line down. And it won't recover because it's lost this impulsive structure. When you lose that structure, it's very hard to recover unless you argue that this is all a big 1-2. And if it's all a big 1-2, what you're basically saying is that at some point there will come this massive 3, 4, and 5 where WIF runs to 20 billion, 50 billion, and stuff like that. Then this chart makes a little bit of sense. But if that were to happen, you should be seeing some strength forming, some accumulation forming, some higher lows. You're not seeing that anyway. And you're not in the right macro kind of conditions. You're not in the right conditions for that to happen. For these coins to have major, major pumps. And the reason I'm making this video is not put a downer on stuff. It's just, I think a lot of people are, again, I've mentioned this in my other videos, you're following people who are making really, really cool, interesting content. A lot of it's very bullish for crypto. But when they say things like, look, if you don't hold Solana or you don't hold Ethereum, make sure you hold in Bitcoin and stuff like that. Just because you decide to trade in crypto does not mean you need to be holding a particular altcoin or meme coin all the time and just rotate between one and the other. You could be holding cash too. Don't forget that. In the form of crypto, obviously, it could be USDC or USDT, whatever, but stay in US dollars while this is all playing out. You don't have to get wrecked by the market every day. It's not a requirement just because you're in crypto that, bro, you have to hold something on this list. You don't have to do that. I'm stating the obvious to a lot of you, but some of you, especially some of you who are newer, won't know this. So they're like, oh, if I'm not holding an altcoin, let me go back into Bitcoin because Bitcoin seems to be outperforming. It has been outperforming. But a lot of the things that were true in last cycle, even the things that up until a few weeks ago I thought would still happen, like Bitcoin dominance, will get a little altcoin rally. No, this is not good now because this was all happening. Bitcoin, crypto was all going down while the stock market was still rallying. So last but not least, let's talk about Bitcoin because this is obviously key for cryptocurrency in general. Previously in previous cycles when Bitcoin's coming off a high or maybe if it's top 10 stuff on the retrace, or sometimes when it pushes down and gets a lower retrace like that, altcoins rally. But like I said, this is not the same as previous cycles. This is a very, very kind of damaged, awkward, difficult cycle that, again, people just thought it would be the same playbook as last time. It's not. But what's worrying is people are not realizing that already. Like, come on, guys. Like, this is late in the day now to be talking about massive alt seasons and stuff. Like I said, this is analysis, probabilities. Could be wrong about the whole thing. Could be completely wrong. Ignore my video. But I really don't see it. And I said in a video about a month or two ago, this met the minimum requirements for a top for Bitcoin. Because this is a 5-wave move from here. I think it has. But what I can't say with TA, I can't say if this is part of a final 1-2 and we just have a little bit of what people love to, call a parabolic rally to call it a day there. But does there have to be a parabolic rally to end all, major moves in stock markets? What if it's such a dampened one where we're getting these little pushes to all-time highs that it's more of a rounded top feel anyway? Why does it have to be a parabolic rally like ones we've seen before? Again, why does it have to be the same as previous cycles? You have to ask yourself these questions. And these are the questions I've been asking myself. Like I was still only saying we might get a little bit of a final push because it just made sense from previous cycles. But now I don't care because, like I said, my analysis is showing me that we're going into potentially some very, very difficult times. As a trader, I'm prepared for anything. But what I'm looking for in the short term, as I showed you on Solana, but let's talk about Ethereum for a second. Because, a lot of people trade Ethereum, a lot of people hold Ethereum. It's the same thing as I showed you on the AVAX chart. We've broken below August lows. Such a bad sign. Now, you could say it's a sign for, potentially for us to reset. But we're now even in the territory of this price here. So we're at the 2000s here. So bad because it means this is all, as I've been saying for probably a couple of years now, it's all corrective. Always look corrective as well. This is confirmed. So it didn't even get to all-time highs. Zero chance in my opinion. Well, not zero. It's probabilities. Let's call it 0.5% chance, whatever you want, of it actually going to all-time highs. But people are like, well, Trump's been buying loads and loads of Ethereum. Trump's done loads of things that haven't done anything to pump the market. Trump was selling NFTs that nobody cared about back in 2021. Like, you can't just base it on what he's saying or doing. Markets don't work that way. And usually you'll get wrecked the opposite way because usually it's a trap. And you might see in the coming weeks some bull traps and you better be careful with those. To be honest, there are opportunities for you actually to, better get out or, if you're into that, short in the market rather than actually taking a long trade. But again, that's my personal opinion. You get loads of bullish. I don't mind talking about stuff like this because I know you'll get loads of bullish videos on YouTube anyway. So I'm only merely just balancing it out, to be honest. So again, we tested this a couple of times there. We had some sort of decent bounce here, which was not sustained at the beginning of February. We're messing about sitting on this level, which is never a good sign. And I just think we're waiting to, on a lot of these coins. XRP is the final one I'll mention because I still see all the time on YouTube and other social media people talking about targets for XRP. And these targets are high is an understatement. People are talking about $50, $70, $100, stuff like that. Stuff that literally doesn't even make sense in terms of market cap. Makes zero sense. Nobody uses XRP for anything. Doesn't make any sense at all, right? But anyway, it managed to tag all-time highs, which is significant. But what if it was doing that final push, like we saw in many other coins, like Tesla, Solana, stuff like that, just tag it and drop? What if it's just doing that? Now, there's still an argument that we could still get another push up to $4, $5. That's still there. It's still there. But even for me, looking at this chart, I don't think it's looking great. The move off this low is not being able to sustain that. It's technically still in higher lows, but barely so. Lot of bad looking red candles, spikes to the upside that were completely wiped out. So I don't think it looks good. And if it takes out these levels like $2, like I said in my last video, and then 177, I think it's done, cooked, in my opinion. Now, could it, accumulate again and do something later in the year? Of course it, could. But I think the chance of that is very, very, very low. Especially if what I'm saying is right and it does turn out that the stock market, which is only 5 or 7% off all-time highs, which is nothing, if it genuinely is the beginning stages of a massive stock market crash. And just talking about stock market for one final minute, in the global financial crisis, we hit a price which was the same price as September 1996. So literally like 23 years later, we went back to a price. So sometimes you get crashes that aren't the normal little retraces. They're a much bigger crash. And this was all obviously a much wider sideways kind of flat correction in hindsight. And I think that major one is what we're due now. That's kind of one of the main points of this video I want you to take away. That's what I think. That's why I'm not saying like, oh, it's 10-year bear market because, meme coins are looking a bit bad. I think it's because literally it's due now. Remember all the way up till the internet bubble burst, and we were vertical for a long time. And those, many people say, were the best ever years for a lot of things, including stock market. But anyway, we've had that run now, literally from March 09 lows, literally vertical all the way up. Are we due some sort of significant correction where we get back to not only April lows, maybe COVID lows? Who knows? But they seem miles away right now. So unlikely, so unexpected. Nobody would think this could happen. What I'm saying is, I'm seeing a lot of stars lining up right now. And like I said, I think crypto is an early indicator of that. And I think with the macro stuff, the AI stuff, everything going on in the world, tariffs, whatever news you want to attach to what I think is about to happen. And if that doesn't happen and we keep going up, all I think is we're nearly there actually, with this actually happening. Like I said, small probability that this is completely wrong. And we're just going to get our usual stock market pullback. And for the next 3-4 years, we just keep going vertical. And if we do that, crypto will keep running up, sure. But none of the altcoin charts are doing that. So better off investing in the stock market, if that happens. Especially if you've got a larger position and, a Bitcoin holder and stuff like that. Now I do these updates because I think it will help some people, especially if I think, a lot of the info there is not accurate or the TA is not great at best. So if you want to keep seeing updates like this, more than happy to do them. I can do these weekly where I cover Bitcoin, altcoins, meme coins in terms of general market conditions, and obviously talk about the stock market as well. But if you like that, hit the like button, comment below. But never worry about being sidelined, especially in the crypto market. Sometimes it's the best place to be whilst things just work themselves out. Thanks for listening.